your social security number. Just kidding. And then where you're calling in from.
I'm from Davenport.
Davenport, welcome to the call. Welcome to the call.
In North Carolina from Hawaii.
North Carolina. Awesome. Welcome to the call. Who else we got up there?
Good afternoon, Kino. This is RJ. Lines are being recorded.
Awesome. Thank you, RJ. Can you mute the call, RJ, so we can get started? It's the top of the hour. Thank you so much, RJ. Appreciate everyone getting our call tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule. I know we had some technical difficulties from our Team Yoli Momentum call with Dr. Angie Cross. For that, I would tell and advise everybody to go to. Not sure if it was recorded. I'm pretty sure it was recorded. So just watch for that recording to post on YoliTools.com. But guys, I'm respectful of your time. I'm also respectful of the time of our host that we have, actually our special guest speaker that we have on tonight. So I'm going to get started and go straight to today's call. I got really excited and a little bit nervous only because this guy has been such, rock star royalty as far as Yoli is concerned. A record setter and a trendsetter and a record breaker as well. But guys, before I do bring on our special guest speaker tonight, I wanted to start by quoting a scripture in Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1. If you're familiar with the Bible, it reads, "To everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under the heaven." And then the scripture in the passage goes on to say, "A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck out that which has been planted, a time to weep, laugh, mourn, die, dance, lose, keep up." And then there's a passage where it says, "A time to keep silent and a time to speak." Now, this hit me really hard when I thought about it because there was somebody, our special guest speaker that's on tonight, who actually spoke. And his words actually resonated through a recorded call. And it was a recorded call that I heard on Facebook, and this was before I was even in the company. And this call was from our guest speaker tonight, one very special friend and a very special person in my life now, Mr. Daniel Song. And the reason why I bring this up is because when he spoke, there was several words that resonated with me till this day. Some of it is still haunting me till this day. Some of it wakes me up in the middle of the night still at this time, during this time in my life. And it all started with a recorded call. So I am hoping and I'm praying that in my heart that somebody on this call tonight, and not all of you, obviously, the objective would be for every single one of you, would be for his words to ring through and to resonate in your heart and in your mind. And the reason for that is because along the lines of all that was said in the book of Ecclesiastes in chapter 3, verse 1, I would like to say that there is also a time and a season and a purpose under heaven and a time to go out and transform lives. And that's exactly what's happening tonight. And so I am so honored. The edification can go on and on. I'm going to try and limit myself when I introduce our guest speaker. Since I've known him, I had the opportunity and the privilege to actually hang out with him at the first Diamond Retreat in Las Vegas, and it was with him and his beautiful fiance, Melanie, who I've come to include them in my ohana or my family. And I feel like a kid every time I'm around them, mainly because I'm around Melanie and her kids. And for the majority of the time that we did meet, we actually met at the happiest place on earth, which is in Disneyland. And I'm always, I always feel like a kid, a giant kid, obviously, around these guys and around Daniel. He brings that out of me. But he also, guys, was, the record setter, the trendsetter, the first one to hit Diamond in 2 weeks. He is a seasoned professional marketer. I'd heard his name since being in this profession for quite some time. He was the rock star in the last previous company. And there's just people that, that you're able to identify with. He's definitely one of them. And guys, another real quick last story I'll tell before I bring him on. I remember being asked to be part of the video production for the Yoli Power of Two and that whole ensemble of the big cast of all the Diamonds and Above. And I remember, during my part, I kept having to retake, and it was a line about the holding up the CD of Making the Shift. I couldn't get to this one recording, this one take, and they were on take number 10, and I kept laughing finally Robbie cut, told the director, says, cut, why can't you say the line? It's so simple. And I was laughing only because I never heard of that CD called Making the Shift. And here I was trying to do this recording of it. And I'm so glad that when Daniel's song came into the recording, I got a call from Robbie Fender, the CEO and president of the company, saying, dude, oh my gosh, Daniel is killing it. I'm like, great, I hope he can replace everything that I flubbed up on. But anyway, I'm so proud. We are all, on behalf of Yoli Nation and all the Diamonds and Above and all the leadership here in Yoli, I just want to say a big, huge aloha and welcome to our guest speaker tonight, our double diamond, soon to become triple diamond, Mr. Daniel Song. Are you on the line, Daniel?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I know our call is going to be maxed out. We had some technical difficulties from the other call. I've had people that have been waiting, since they couldn't get on the Yoli Momentum call to hear from our great leader, Mr. Daniel Song. So again, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to get on our call tonight.
Cool. Thank you, Kinao. Thank you for having me on. And it's so funny because I hear you saying all these great things about me, and I'm thinking, like, who is this guy? I want to meet this guy too. But, I really appreciate everything you share about me. But I want everybody to understand that, as nice as it is, it's part of our obligation to, of course, edify each other, and we all love it to some degree. But I want people on this call to remember we are just normal people like each other. We have no special skills. We're not superheroes. One thing that I remind everybody as we go through this call, the only difference between you and Kinao, or you and myself, or you and Eugene Hong, is just the number of meetings you've done, the number of trainings you've attended, and the number of years of sweat, blood, and tears you've put into this business. Really what separates the professionals or the experts from the amateurs and the beginners is just experience. And, Yoli is one of those great opportunities where you don't have to learn a lot. You just have to go out and do it. And that's the biggest thing I want you guys to remember. So, again, as Kinao edifies, again, I really appreciate it, brother, like you going out there and saying so many great things about me. But at the end of the day, I know you and I will both agree really what separates sort of the professionals and some of the greats is really just the years of experience and the amount of time we've invested into our business and other people.
I will say yes, and ditto to everything that you just mentioned and confirm on those lines of what you just mentioned. However, personally myself, there is something on that call that has, like I said, that has haunted me from the time my sponsor got me on the call with you. Almost a year ago, I remember you had broken the record. It was the first, the fastest, double diamond. I remember listening to the recorded call, being your interview. I thought to myself, this guy is polished. This guy is very seasoned, and like you were saying, you've done it. You put in your hours and your time, your blood, sweat, and tears. However, it was just the eloquence of the way you were wording things, and your just the dynamics of how you were able to put sentences together really resonated with me. But it was even more so after that, because I remember when I after hearing it, I think Ruby had posted it, and I got it from her page. And her on her wall. I remember calling Eugene right up afterwards, and I said, dude, who is this guy, Daniel Song? And he goes, oh, yeah, it's my friend. I sponsored him. And no diss to Eugene, but I went, you sponsored him? How the heck did you get him? And it was only because back then I was like, wow, I knew Gene had all the gifts and the skills and all the talents and stuff, but it wasn't. It wasn't presented. It didn't manifest at that time. He was just starting as well. And, and now to see where he has grown, his personal growth and development, his skills set, and what he's been able to accomplish is like, holy crap. However, I remember asking him, I said, so, I need to talk to this guy. Is there a way you can set up a three-way call? He goes, yeah. And when he did, I remember our conversation, and it still hits home, and it hits hard, and it resonates still today. And I remember it as if it were yesterday, the conversation. The one question that I asked you, and a lot of if our callers haven't heard it before, I'll share with them later on, maybe through the sum, after we sum it all up. But I really appreciate that. While you were saying we're just normal people, and there's just something about you that really that line and how you were able to word it really resonated with me. So I appreciate that, and I thank God every single day that you are a part of this team, and I thank God that you and Mel are, a huge force and a power couple that have joined the ranks with us to go out and really make an impact on this, in our society and in our world by transforming lives. So without any further ado, let me get to the first question here, which basically, this is my personal accountability call. I'm from Cancun. I took on the role and responsibility of actually really getting to step into that leadership role, knowing full well the type of hours, energy, sweat, heart, everything that was going to go into it. And I decided to make my accountability calls at the top of the hour after our Yoli Momentum call. So it's a 7-day accountability call. And when I mentioned to my team that I actually had the Great Daniel song on it, I actually were able to pull actually a few questions that they specifically wanted me to ask you, which, pretty much goes for everybody else. So the first one is, how do you deal with personal struggles, trials in what advice would you give for those people who are dealing with, outside of Yoli, there is life, there is kids, there is, church, there is school time, dropping off kids, picking up kids. There's life in general that happens outside of Yoli. Struggles and trials that come along with it. So how do you deal with that while building your Yoli business?
Okay. That's a really good question, because I'm sure this is, despite whoever asked this question, this is probably something that all of us on some degree are always struggling with and trying to master. One of the things that I was originally told by one of my original financial mentors was, Daniel, we all have 24 hours in our day. It's really, you hear the objection, I don't have enough time, I wish I had more time, I wish I had an extra day. We hear that all the time, and one of the things that my mentor told me very clearly was, Daniel, everybody has 24 hours in their day, no more or no less, and it's never going to change. So what you have to understand is that rich people understand it's not about the time, but it's about the direction in which you basically lead your life. And what I mean by that is most people, let's say prior to Yoli, you're living a life of very much, it's very similar to water. And I remember sharing this with you, that people in general, we don't like confrontation, we don't like objections, we don't like hardships, and we don't like any bad things happening to us. So we tend to live a life much like water, where we kind of run the course of least resistance, meaning if you hit a rock or you hit a wall, you just kind of travel around it. And even if it takes longer, even if it's not smart, you'll just take the course of least resistance. And really that's the motto of life for probably 95% of Americans, who just kind of go through life the way life chooses to dictate it. So if you have a setback, if you get laid off, or maybe you have 5 kids, or maybe you're only making $60,000 a year, or maybe you're making less, you just tend to kind of accept that as sort of the way the reality is, and you just kind of live your life adapting to that. It's funny because I remember, I'm a big car guy, and one of the things that my financial mentor first told me was, Daniel, when you were a young kid, what type of posters did you have up on your wall? I said I had car posters because I loved cars, and he says, what kind of cars did you have up on your wall? And I remember telling him I had pictures of Lamborghinis and or specifically the Lamborghini Countach. I think a lot of boys have had posters of Lamborghini Countaches on their wall. And he says, what happened as you got older? I said, well, I replaced those posters with Honda Civic posters and Honda Integra posters. He said, why did you do that? And I said, I think as I grew up, I realized that I was never going to be able to afford a Lamborghini. And he says, that's exactly the problem that most Americans have. You shrink your dreams to match your conditions or your limits, your self-imposed limits. He says, I want you to go back and start putting up things on your wall or your dream board or whatever, the things that you truly desire, not the things that you think your mind and your body is allowing you to earn, but the things you really want. So one thing that I always say is that specifically when people choose to get involved in Yoli or some type of business, or they set goals, for the first time in your life, you're probably creating direction for yourself, okay? Not taking this path of least resistance, not meandering through life. You finally have defined a destination for yourself, whether that destination may be financial freedom, time freedom, spending more time with your family, retirement, helping your family members. Whatever that destination is, you, for the first time in your life, have clearly defined a goal that you want to achieve. And this is the hard part. Once you've defined that, your body and your mind want to take the shortest distance or the shortest route to that goal. And now everything that stands in the way suddenly become objections or hurdles or problems. Meaning, for example, you're oh, well, my kids, I have to pick them up, or, I have work, or I have these. These are things that you probably, even though you dealt with it and they were probably problems before, you just kind of dealt with it without really thinking about it. And now that you actually have a destination, you see these as hurdles. And I always tell people, like, look, if you're starting to recognize that you have all these, obstacles and difficulties in front of you, be encouraged that you're actually on the right track, because you now have a goal that you're seeking after, and for the first time in your life, you have to overcome these objections and hurdles to get to where you want to go. So, one, it's a good sign of growth. It's a good sign of you're on the right track to becoming an entrepreneur. The last thing that I will say about, hardships and struggles is this is what's going to create your story. I don't know if you guys realize this, but stories, just like with our product, you guys know this about our products, it's really, the clinical trials are really great, the facts are really great, Dr. Mike's product DVDs are great, but what really makes the Yoli opportunity sell, it's the stories. You guys know the 5 S's, and it's when we get to the stories and sharing portion of the 5 S's, that's, again, we say it in the DVD, that's where the magic happens. It really is in the stories that we share about people's results on the products, what it's done for them physically, emotionally. I mean, it's when we share these stories that magic happens. And the same thing is true for your own personal story. Again, if you're beginning or you're brand new, or if you're, in the first, first few months in your Yoli business, you're probably not going to see too much value in your story. But I want you guys to think about movies. Nobody likes movies where the main character is already set up for success, meaning we all love underdog stories. I mean, think about Mighty Ducks, you know what I mean? I mean, that's one of the things, I used to love watching the Mighty Ducks when I was a kid.
Yes.
And you love the movie because it's like the Bad News Bears. It's like Sandlot. You have a bunch of kids who are like no good misfits that are like rejects of life, delinquents, or tardies, or like everything is wrong with these guys, but they overcome their hardships to become a championship team through all of their hard work and dedication. And that's why we spend our money and our time to watch these stories, because it feels good to watch somebody go through those trials and make it out at the end. In the same way, imagine this. Each of you guys are writing your own autobiography. At the end of your life, that's your legacy. And I guarantee you, if your story went something like this, hey, you know what? I went through life. I had no hardships. I joined a business. I made it to the top. There were 0 objections. I just got really lucky, made a lot of money, retired, and then I died. I guarantee you your book is not going to sell. But if you go out there and say, you know what? I had a family. I had 3 jobs. I had no time. I got laid off. I got fired. I got, this. I got that. And I went out there and made choices for myself. I made goals. I worked overtime. I worked in the evenings. I worked smarter. I worked, more efficiently. I grew with my leaders. And I was able to become successful and walked away from my job, or walked away from my 3rd job, or whatever it is. I guarantee you that story will sell a lot better than the person who had no hardships whatsoever. So understand that the value as you guys go through these struggles is that you're building your story. Really take value in that. And that the harder the setup is, again, you're creating a better story. And these are the stories that eventually can get new members to join into your teams as well.
Wow. Okay, I'm going off my writing notes and stuff and trying to bullet point some of these notes, but I'm feeling for all the people right now that started with me that either got subjected to other people's opinions that are no longer with me today. I'm just like, this is all part of the story. And I love how you said it as far as you're writing your autobiography, and that the movies and these books that sell is not because, of the successes, but because of the hardships. That's awesome. Thank you. Moving along, this is a question from one of my new girls, Sella. Shout out to Sella. How do we as distributors deal with the objections of the prospects saying that the party pack or the depth is too much money? And how do we increase the value of the party pack and the depth? It's a great question.
All right, that's going to be a good one, too. There are a few obvious sort of things that we can do to help with that objection, and then there are a few philosophical questions that you can ask as well. Let's start with some of the easy ones. Understand the value in buying in bulk. I mean, if you guys are familiar with Sam's Club or Costco or Spartan Final, it's like going out there and buying 1 roll of toilet paper versus buying a 20-pack. Obviously, when you buy in numbers, you're going to have savings, and the party pack is designed just that way. You get an initial savings from the baseline transformation kit price. When you buy a Diamond Elite pack, you get an additional, even greater savings. I think the math is something, similar to this, and this is what I tell my people. For the cost of buying 1 transformation kit, if you buy a party pack, if you can retail away three of the transformation kits, you're essentially getting your 4th transformation kit almost for free, okay? And that's almost how the numbers work out. And the Diamond Elite pack is similar, but even larger. If you buy 4 party packs, essentially, if you can retail away 3 of those party packs, you're getting your 4th party pack for free. Now, no one's going to go out there and necessarily retail that, but they understand sort of the numbers. They understand that they're getting, it's almost like buy 3, get 1 free, whether it's a party pack or whether it's a transformation kit. And again, when people hear these type of gimmicks and these free or buy 3, get 1 free, people like that. I mean, I, for one, when I used to go grocery store shopping, I'm never good. Again, like I said, it's only recently that with Melanie moving out here that she's taught me the right way to shop for food. I used to be the guy that used to go into a grocery store late at night and just buy whatever my stomach wanted at that moment. So I would walk out with like 3 Slim Jims, a Cheetos, Coke, and like Spam or something like that. I know it sounds kind of disgusting, but really, I mean, that's kind of the example that I would just go, and whenever, and it always got me, whenever they had for example, you buy 2 bags of chips, you get the 3rd one free, even though I knew as a single bachelor I didn't need 3 bags of chips. For some reason, my arm would reach for that 3rd bag because I said, oh, why not? I'm getting 1 for free. I might as well buy 2, even though I never needed the 3. I just needed the 1. And so, again, the free is always a good word to throw out there, okay? These are, again, of course, very obvious things, but maybe we're not sharing this enough, okay? Ask them also, do you know at least 1 or 2 people who are wanting to try the product? Meaning they've just seen the presentation, they've seen the value of the transformation kit, and if they're already saying, yes, I want to start on the transformation, these are the 2 things that I always ask them. Number 1, do you have a loved one, a family member, maybe a spouse that you could see using or benefiting from these products? And if they answer yes, I say, look, if you just can get 1 or 2 more people to try the products with you, again, you would be getting your products for free. Again, if they could get 3 customers, again, like I said, their 4th kit essentially is almost paid for based on the price savings of that party pack. The other question I asked them is very simple. I said, look, you can get started on the transformation kit today, and this is all in delivery of how confident you are, okay? I always tell people, like, look, you can start the transformation kit today, and that's not a problem at all. But within a week to 2 weeks to 30 days, you're going to see some results, and you're going to get excited. And when you get excited, people are going to ask you, what are you on? And when you share with them the Yoli Better Body system, they're going to want to try it. At that point, if you decide that you want to do the business, at that point, now you're going to buy a party pack. And within 30 days, you've essentially bought 5 transformation kits. And I show them how it's a waste of money because you've now just spent the additional $330 that you didn't have to spend. And when they think forward, because, again, people treat life sort of like checkers. They only see 1 move ahead. But you got to treat the business sort of like chess, where you look at it as few moves ahead of time to kind of set yourself up for the best advantage or the best moves. So I show them like how in 30 days, if they decide to join the business, that they would have wasted away at $330. And again, wasting money, throwing away money is words that they don't like. And so that fear of loss or spending that additional income is what turns them back and says, okay, maybe it is a good deal. Maybe I should get on, on the party pack now. Of course, the obvious one, hopefully a lot of you guys are talking about this. Remember that the party packs and the Diamond Elite packs are the only 2 enrollment packages that allows you to be car qualified, okay? Our bonus structure is in a way where you're eligible for all the 9 different bonuses, but at least for the luxury car bonus, you need to get on either a party pack or a Diamond Elite pack. So let them know that as well. That I kid you not, there have been at least a few signups in my teams where that was the make or break point. They really wanted the single transformation kit, but they really wanted to also be eligible for that car because they're like, we don't know if we're going to build it or not, but man, if we did become eligible, we'd want that free car. So I said, look, the only way you're going to do it is through buying a party pack or a Diamond Elite pack. The last logical answer that I give them is I let them know about tax write-offs. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit later on, but I don't know if people realize this, but once you enter into a home-based business, you open up a whole different world for taxation, okay? Hopefully in the future we can do some tax strategies and home-based taxes. Maybe we can get a CPA on the call in the future, but tax write-offs are a beautiful thing. Most Americans, like for example, before I walked away from Leg Avenue, my full-time job, almost being an annual 6-figure earner on my W-2, and before obviously Melanie's moved out and I had dependents, I was paying on upwards of 40 to 45% in taxes off my job's income. And I know I posted this about a week ago. I said, look, if you're paying 40% in taxes, let's round it down. Let's say 30% in taxes. That's like working from the month of January through the month of April for free for the government and then getting paid for the last 8 months. That really sucks. So taxation can be a bummer for a lot of people. And when you ask somebody, hey, did you pay taxes this year? And they're like, yeah. I go, do you get taxes taken on your check? They're like, yeah. And they're not going to be very exciting answers because nobody likes paying taxes. Everybody's going to be like, yeah, I know. And I let them know, hey, if you had an opportunity to get started in Yoli and have the government pay to get you started, would that be something that interests you? And they perk up and they say, yeah, absolutely. What do you mean by that? I go, if you get started in Yoli today, any income that you earn in Yoli is going to be classified as a 1099 income. You're now a business owner. And what you can do is whether you make profits or whether you make no money in Yoli, you can now write off this initial enrollment as a business startup expense. And when they realized that they can write this off, I said, look, as long as you can hold out till next April when you pay your taxes, this is less money you can pay towards your taxes that you paid towards your kit. And I said, would you rather pay the government taxes or would you rather start your own business on their dime? And when they realize this, they're like, okay, well, now it's a no-brainer. So those are some of the logical answers to it all. I'll share with you one of my sort of semi-philosophical, deep thought versions of answering that objection. And the one that I always ask them is, they go, hey, you know what, Daniel, the party pack, it sounds like a lot of money. And the first thing I look at them is, and I don't flinch, and I say, compared to what? And I let them think about that for a second because they're comparing it to things that are of very little value. For example, they're like, well, I mean, it's like it's more than my iPad, or it's like it's more than this, or it's more than I make in a week, or it's more. They start comparing it to things that they believe are the relative comparisons to it. And I let them know. I said, do you realize to open a small business, it takes about $250,000 to $300,000, even to open an adequate small business. It can take upwards of $1 million to open a franchise. I said, you're getting an opportunity to own your own business for about $1,000. You know, in a whole year, that's about $3 a day. Do you think you can set aside $3 a day to having and owning your own business? You know, and when they start thinking about it from a different perspective, again, we always say, like, look, the reason why they don't want to get started on a party pack or a diamond league pack is because usually they don't see the value in it. You need to create that value. And and sometimes people go, well, I don't have the money. And I said, well, look, that's exactly why I'm talking to you about it. If you had $1,000 laying around like that easily, maybe Yoli isn't the right opportunity for you. I'm speaking to you because do you have a desire to change your life? Do you have a desire to make more money? Do you have a desire to have more free time? And they're like, hey, and I asked them a hypothetical question. I said, if there was no cost to join Yoli, would you join today? And of course, everybody's going to be like, yeah. So money is the only objection stopping you from joining today. And they say, yeah. And I said, look, let's show you the value of the Yoli business. And I talk about, again, comparing it to what? Comparing it to owning a traditional business, owning things. And I say, look, a lot of things you buy today, whether it's a new car or a computer or, a TV, all of those things depreciate in value. Your Yoli business is the only thing you can buy, aside from a very few collectible things, that will actually appreciate in value. As you build a team, as you build a residual income, it's something that pays you over and over again. So, again, that's sort of my philosophical take on the whole, well, the party pack or the diamond league pack costs a lot of money. I always say, compared to what? I said, in the game of the business world, it's drops in the bucket to join a business. You know what I mean? I said, go home and research how much it costs to open a small donut shop, then get back to me and let me know if that's a lot of money. You know what I mean? And then they usually start to understand it.
Sorry, I'm taking notes here. Okay. That was brilliant. In fact, I think this objection in further detail, the way you were able to break it down, just saying we should bring it up and transform you, and that should be one of our objections, in addition to, don't have enough money? Well, it's all the more reason why you should get involved. So moving along. Thank you so much for that one. What advice, this is from my cousin Lee, what advice do you have to our distributors who are working at a full-time job, and what and how did you do to build your double diamond status while you were working a full-time job? By the way, kudos, congratulations, hats off. I'm so glad, thank God, you are on board full-time now that we've got you coming on board full-time. But that was the question.
Okay, so working at a full-time job, keep in mind, like I said, it's all about the story. Even if you guys have not gotten a chance, you guys definitely want to listen to Jim Rohn's Building Your Network Marketing Business CD. It's a great audio. It's something that I listened to when I got started day one in network marketing. It's something I don't know how many CDs I've worn through. But Jim Rohn even talks about the story, the magic of part-time. Nobody will be interested in your story if you went out there and said, hey, guess what? I've been building my Yoli business full time, and I made an extra $500 this week. Somebody's going to look at you and say, so did I. I did that at my job. There's nothing special about that. But if you said, hey, you know what, I went out there and built my business part-time, around my hours at work, and I was able to build an additional $500, that gets really exciting because it's additional income that otherwise normal people can't earn, okay? One of the things, like I said, is we're now business owners. So you guys have to understand how business owners make money, okay? We didn't sign up to become independent distributors to basically join another job. So hopefully as you guys signed the Yoli distributor agreement, you understood that part of what you were signing is saying, hey, sign me up. I want to be my own boss. Everybody wants the paycheck of the boss, the perks of the boss, but nobody wants to work like the boss. You know what I mean? So understand what it is that you guys got involved in it. And being a boss, you're not paid by the hours, okay? You're not paid this hourly wages. It's not secure. It's not stable, although that's sort of a myth with jobs too nowadays. But owners get paid on the efforts. You know what I mean? And efforts is limitless. Again, time is very defined, and there's only so much time you have. 24 hours in your day, and some of that has to be allocated to sleep, eating, family. There's only so many hours you can physically work. But effort, you can keep increasing that by getting better as a person. That's what's awesome about personal development. As you read books, as you get better, as you go to these Transform U's, as you go to these trainings, as you get to become a better entrepreneur, you have the efficiency and the ability to make more money in that hour than you would in maybe a whole day of working at a job. Okay, these are, again, you're defying physics at this point. You're defying gravity, and that's really exciting. That should excite you because you're not bound by time anymore. Because again, time is a value that doesn't increase over, in any way. But effort is a value that can increase by you investing into yourself. There's a great tool that actually, it was just by chance that Robbie happened to share this tool with me. I happened to listen to it on the way back from Utah on my flight. I had a layover in Colorado for about an hour, so I got a chance to listen to this program. If you guys get a chance, jump over to success.com, and there's a new tool, and it's a DVD audio series, but there's a second volume out called Lessons of a Lifetime with Jim Rohn and Darren Hardy. And the volume number 2, this current volume that's out, is exactly on this topic. It's on productivity and time management, okay? And I just went through the CD. The coincidence is I just listened to this about a week ago. It is the perfect eye-opening and ear-opening sort of training that shows you how it's about working smart and not working hard, that you're not working against the clock, but you're working against your own efforts. And one of the things, the keywords you need to understand is, what does leverage mean? You may be busy, but your job is not to go out there and do this all the time. It's to find the people who have the time. Maybe you have 2 or 3 jobs, or maybe you are working 80 hours a week. But that should motivate you to find at least 2 or 3 downlines that you can work with that may have a normal job schedule. Maybe a stay-at-home mom who's free during the daytime, because now your uplines and your sponsors can work with those people, but because you brought them in, you're getting paid for all of those efforts. And guess what? Now you're working smart. You're getting paid whether you're at your job or whether you're at home. One of the things I used to laugh about, and I used to tell always my teams, is I know Yoli's not international yet, but in my previous company, it was international. And I had a large contingency in Asia, Taiwan, Korea, and in Japan. And you guys know that obviously when it's evening times here in the United States, it's daytime in Asia. And it was always funny looking at my back office and then going to sleep and then waking up the next morning, and then my checks would be a lot larger because my teams in Asia were actually producing. And I remember, I was still living at home, believe it or not. I was still making a 6-figure income, but I was living at home. And my mom would wake me up because, again, my parents are very traditional, valued. And they're like, look, you can't sleep in. You got to wake up early. Early bird catches the worm, so on and so forth. And so they would wake me up, and I would say, Mom, stop bothering me. I'm actually making money, And that's what leverage is all about. Like, you don't have to physically be there. You know what I mean? But it's up to you to hurry and find the people that your sponsors or your teams can work with that may have the times. Because keep in mind, not everybody's as busy as you are. And, I would challenge to say this, people listening on this call, you may not be as busy as you really think you are, okay? And I know that's challenging, but really think about that for a second. There are a lot of great online time management worksheets you can download, tools you can find to really map out your day and say, hey, wow, I didn't realize I was wasting so much time on, browsing the internet or being on Facebook or playing, Candy Crush or, watching movies. And Lenny Pan said this on his Double Diamond advancement. Lenny Pan said, I put down the TV for 2 to 3 nights a week, and I became a Double Diamond. And the thing I need to ask you is, how much is it worth it to sacrifice a few of these frivolous, superficial activities, like maybe, hanging out with friends at the bar or, going out there and watching a movie? It's always unfortunate when I see people say, I don't have time, but they're at the club, or I don't have time, but they're at the movies. I don't have time, but, they're out hanging out with their friends. And I said, no, you have time. You just haven't invested the time into your business. And so one of the things I'll always say is, look, your job is a great way to tell a part-time story. And again, we talked about the value of your story, okay? It's about time management. Again, the best lesson that I can give you is go pick up that Lessons of a Lifetime. Again, it's the second volume. It's called Productivity and Time Management. It's from Jim Rohn and Darren Hardy. I think you guys will truly, truly love that program. So that's probably my best thing.
Awesome. We are closing out the call. I actually wish we had more time. The last question is from my girl, Fiona, who was like, ask Daniel if what phrases that you use, and I'm assuming this is either for cold contacts that she meets, out on at the grocery store or what have you, but or in the workplace or wherever someone's at. But what are what phrases do you use to pique someone's interest to look at Yoli, and what has worked for you? Piquing somebody's interest in a single visit is very difficult because, again, invitation and prospecting is usually a process. It's multiple, contact points, not just one opportunity. Now, again, there are going to be internet marketers that challenge that. I can buy internet leads on one thing and I can get them to sign up. But there's a difference in quality of the people you're signing up. Keep in mind, as much as it's great to have a big downline, it's about quality, not quantity. You're not trying to prospect everybody out there. Now, again, if everybody joins your downlines, hooray, that's great. But your goal is to get them to also stay in the team. That's the more important. That's usually the harder part. And so the quality of your downlines is in the relationships you build with them. So don't expect to just meet somebody at the grocery store. It's a great way to prospect and exchange numbers and exchange contacts so you can stay in touch. But don't expect you to bump into somebody and then have that person at your party the next night. You know what I mean? That's usually going to be very rare, okay? And again, if you did somehow convince them and headlock them down to your Better Body party after just one opportunity of meeting them, again, there's a good chance that they're going to be very negative, very skeptical. They're not going to, they haven't built a relationship with you. And again, they may join, but they may not stick around very long. Again, relationships are really key. But here are a few things that I will throw out there, little bits and pieces that I throw out there, whether it's to your warm market, meaning people that you constantly communicate with, let's say you're coworkers, friends at school, friends at church, friends at home, friends of the family, maybe recreational activities that you guys do together. Here are a few concepts and phrases that I use a lot. I love talking about tax savings, okay? Not directly, but especially, again, for example, during the month of April when everybody was paying taxes, I would generally say, hey, did you do your taxes yet? And they're like, oh, yeah, man. And then, again, you all generally hear some type of sigh, moan, or gripe. And it's still funny. You can still use this now. You can say, hey, did you do your taxes this past year? And watch your friends or your prospects groan and moan about it. Go, oh, what was that all about? And then they'll usually tell you. Again, never point out how bad something is. Just talk about it. Ask them curiously and let them share with you how bad it is, right? Just go, oh, whoa, what was that all about? And they're like, oh, my God. I paid 30% in taxes, or I did this in taxes, or I owed the government this much. Oh, my God, I couldn't even pay taxes. And go, whoa, that's kind of rough. Go, hey, if there was a way, and just always just curious, just go, hey, if there was a way where you could possibly build a business and save on taxes and write off things like your cell phone payment, things that are very, very basic, like your cell phone payment, gas that you put in your car, maybe write off part of your rent or your mortgage, would that be something that interests you? And again, for anybody who's struggling with their taxes, saving on taxes is going to be an answer for them. The other thing that I talk about is, again, depending on the prospect that I'm working with, that somebody maybe sits in my car, or somebody that's a mutual friend that likes automobiles. They're like, oh, this is a nice car. How much is this? As they start to ask any questions about a vehicle or something like that, or a conversation, go, hey, I actually work with a business that allows distributors to earn free cars. And again, it's the word free. They don't understand how. I just say, look, I have a bunch of friends driving around in free BMWs. That's all I say. I have a bunch of friends that are driving around in free Mercedes and free BMWs. And they're like, what?
how do you do that? I go, oh, the company gives out these bonuses, and basically you get a free company car. And again, that's not exactly how the bonus works, but it's enough to get them to start asking you the questions. And again, when they start asking you the questions, that means you have their interest. And they go, well, how does this free car thing work? We'll go, hey, I don't have a lot of time to explain this right now, but if you want, let's get connected, and I'll shoot you over an email later on, or we'll get in touch, or I'll give you a call later on, explain how it works, you know what I mean? And it gives you that opportunity to kind of follow up. The other things we talk about, again, if they're a customer, is free auto ship or free products. Somebody's been on the transformation kit for 15 days, and they're like, oh, my God, Daniel, I love these products. Go, hey, would you be interested in earning more free products? Because, again, somebody who's getting great results is looking for a way to extend those results. They're like, well, I just spent $300 buying this transformation kit. I love it, but I don't want to be buying this every month at $300. I said, well, hey, if you love it a lot, would you like free products? And, again, the word free, who's going to say no to that? It's, of course, a yes answer. Well, how do I get the free products? Hey, you know what? If you can just refer me to a few of your friends that might be interested in products like this, I can get you free products. All of these things are not the complete business, but it's enough for them to start a dialogue with you and enough for you to invite them down to a better body party. The last thing I do, and this is the one that I have the most fun with, I always talk about Facebook or Instagram because, let's face it, 99% of our friends are on Facebook and Instagram. And I say, hey, let's say I was talking to you, Kinao. Let's say you were a prospect. I say, hey, Kinao, do you ever find yourself maybe on Facebook and do you see friends posting pictures of food, maybe the dinner they're going to eat, the great sushi dish they're about to have, or maybe they're checking in at an amusement park or at Disneyland? Do you ever have friends that do that? And, of course, 99% of people will nod their head because there's somebody on their Facebook wall that's constantly posting pictures of food, you know, checking in at places. I go, hey, Kinao, do you realize that people do this for free? They advertise for companies for free, and they don't even realize they're doing it. And most people start to, you know, their eyeballs start to kind of roll up to the, you know, the corner of their eyes, and you can tell they're thinking about this now, you know. And that's when you know you have their curiosity. And I say, you realize we market for these businesses, and we don't get paid to do that. And they're like, that's true. You know, because if you posted that sushi dish and you're like, wow, that looks really delicious, I'm going to go have that sushi too, I've just now recommended a customer to this business, and they're never going to pay me for that. Like, huh. I go, why do people do that? And again, I like to ask the questions, why do people post it then? And one of the things that if they don't draw the conclusion, you tell them, we as human beings, we're very social creatures. We love sharing our experiences, good or bad, we love sharing. And I go, Facebook and Instagram has just made it really easy to share. And it's like going on your smartphone, taking a photo, and within 2 seconds you can share what you're eating. So in the same way, the Yoli business, you can share and make money. And that's what people, because again, a lot of people are fearful that Yoli is a business, and because it's a business, they need to sell or do business stuff.
Right.
And I tell people, like, it's a business, but it's actually normal human behavior that you get paid for. And that's when they go, what? And I go, look, it's a business. I don't wear a suit. I don't wear a tie. I don't go door to door. I don't carry a sales kit. I don't do any of that. And then that's when people go, oh, what do you do? I don't know. I just post stuff on Facebook. I just share results. I just share with my family. I just share with my friends. And I make money. And I drive a free car. And I get free products. And I save on taxes. And suddenly people are like, wait, so you do things. And that's what I'm trying to get them to conclude and realize. It's things you're doing already, but I'm allowing you to make money doing what you're doing already. You know? You don't have to change your behavior. You don't have to change your dress style. You don't have to change your occupation to do this. And then when there's that very little resistance, that's when people are like, huh, this is interesting.
Wow. I've been getting text messages from my girl saying, OMG, holy crap, this is what I needed. Yes, 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 I love it. Oh, my goodness. Why didn't we have Daniel earlier? Blah, blah, blah. So, you know what, because I respect your time, and I did mention that we, try to keep our accountability calls to at least 30 minutes. Tonight it's going to be 45 Hawaiian minutes, or 30 Hawaiian minutes. But the last thing in closing, I really appreciate this. You have no idea, because memory jogger for me, there's a lot of aha moments that are snapping in my head, because when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. And I have had many teacher appear moments just within the last half hour to things that I've heard, constantly on a daily basis or even read about. But now it's clicking, and that's why I said I really enjoyed, hearing you from the beginning. But in closing, Danny, what else would you like to add, or anything that would? How can we take advantage of our, the resources that we have to build our business?
So,
over your closing line to that.
One of the things I always tell people is, build a sense of urgency. So many people are building their Yoli business as if, like, hey, I can get to it tomorrow. We always procrastinate, and again, it's very much human nature to procrastinate. One of the things I want to really challenge people on this call is, take it very seriously. Make a commitment. Say, hey, look, I'm going to dedicate this many hours. This is what I tell my teams to do. Create what we call an hours of operation, okay? And what an hours of operations is basically like when you go to a store, let's say a dry cleaner or a donut shop or a auto mechanic, you'll notice in front of the store door, like right in front of their window, they'll have hours of operation. It says Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday, 10 a.m. to like 8 p.m., whatever. And the reason why it's there is so that the customers can understand when they're open and they're closed, and they can depend on that. Hey, if I show up at 10 o'clock tomorrow, you're going to be open. That's how you get repeated business. That's how customers keep coming, because if you have sporadic hours, like, for example, you open at 6 today, but 8 tomorrow, then 7 tomorrow, and then 4 o'clock the next day, your customers can't come back to enjoy your business, you know what I mean? And we're creatures of habit, you know what I mean? We build habits, and then once we build habits, we build on those habits. So one of the things I always tell downlines to do is, like, look, even if it's just one evening a night, commit an hours of operation, meaning look at your calendar and say, look, Kinau, I will commit Monday evenings from 6 to 10 o'clock as my Yoli hours of operation. Now, again, for a brand new distributor, that might be good enough. You know what I mean? Say, you know what, Kinau, from 6 to 10 on Monday, it'll always be free for some type of Yoli IPA or income-producing activity, whether it's a better body party or a training or a team call or I'm prospecting. I will dedicate those hours. And you want to be, again, consistent with it. You don't want to be doing it 6 to 10 on Monday, and the next Monday you're like, I'm going to take it off. Again, that's not how a business works. Now, again, for those of you guys that want better results, more results, add more hours of operation. Again, it's not about tons of time, but consistency. Maybe it's Monday from 7 to 10, and then Wednesday from 7 to 10, and Friday from 7 to 10. Maybe it's 3 nights a week that you commit to your Yoli business and then watch your business transform. One of the things I'll tell you guys, this summer is really, and if I can kind of embark upon anything that I shared with Kinau a year ago that I can share with you guys today to kind of get you guys a little bit scared, is this is sort of the last summer that Yoli is going to be a very intimate, small company. And let me say that again. We have the fortunate blessings to be working with, you have like CEOs and founders that are flying out to your Transform U's. There is no excuse why you should not be there. It's not going to happen in the future anymore. Robbie and these guys are going to get so busy, you might be lucky if you see them once a year. It's funny, in the company that I used to build for, the company is so large and so busy, you only get to meet the CEO and the president and the founder once a year at the annual convention. And the only way you see them is on the main stage while you sit in this giant auditorium of 10,000 people, and that's the closest you're going to get to the CEO of that company. Here you have so much at your fingertips to be able to work with these people, rub elbows with these people. Anytime you have an opportunity, make it to the live events, come to the Transform U's, spend that extra time to go out there and have dinners with these people, spend the time with them, invest. That's why, again, there should be no excuse to why you guys have not yet signed up to Transform 2013 convention. This will be the last convention that can be held inside of a hotel room, a ballroom. After that, really, Salt Lake City, really at that point, you have to move into a sort of a convention center. And that's when, again, it's exciting for the leaders because that means our checks are growing and the company's growing. So money's going to be great. But the bummer part is that sort of very intimate family feel that we have right now, it's going to get wider and it's going to get spread apart, and it's not going to feel the way it does now. So take advantage of it. But beyond the corporate team, guys, I know a lot of times, Kinau goes out there and he speaks, and one of the things is like, I'm a third-party person. I obviously, Kinau is part of my teams. We're friends, and we're all part of Synergy together. But oftentimes what is kind of funny is as we edify each other, Kinau is a great man. He's so humble, and, he really is approachable, which is amazing that a leader of his magnitude will do that. But at the same time, it's kind of like this. It's like, don't forget that he's a lion. Like he's a very powerful leader. And that's one of the things that's exciting about Kinau is, like, when we got on the call about a year ago when Kinau decided to take Yoli seriously, it was exciting because I was watching an amazing leader basically get back on his saddle and saying, I'm ready to do this. And that got me really excited a year ago. Before he went triple diamond, before he went double, before he went diamond, all before that, I got excited because I knew without an ounce of a doubt what this man was capable of and the lives he would transform. So, again, you guys have right now the luxury of being able to be on team calls with Kinau, maybe be able to call him directly and text him directly, or maybe do better body parties with him directly, or, have him come down to your house. These are things that may not happen 6 months to a year from now.
because the company's going to get bigger. Kinao is going to be needed in different areas and help out different teams. Corporate's going to need him doing more corporate things, and it's going to get more difficult to get the space time. So I know Kinao is like sort of your buddy, like, hey, this is my sponsor, this is my friend, this is the guy that shows up to our parties. But I don't want you guys to forget, like, what an amazing resource you have right there just working with Kinao. You know, the way I'm going to leave it is, it's kind of like having Donald Trump as your neighbor. You may start to take it for granted that Donald Trump is your neighbor. You're going to be like, oh, that's Donald over there. Yeah, well, if I see him tonight, that's cool. If I see him tomorrow, that's cool. No big deal. That's Donald. That's my neighbor. But the rest of the world understands that's freaking Donald Trump. Oh, my God, you live next to Donald Trump. I would be over at his house every day. I would be learning from him every day. I would be sitting in front of him every day, spending every minute to try to pick his brain and get better at what I do. And that's essentially what you have with Kinao. I want you guys to take it very seriously, not only the hours and the time that you commit to Yoli, but I want you guys to make a commitment. And you guys are very fortunate to have somebody like Kinao that you're working with, and the rest of course, the Synergy leadership team. But again, Kinao specifically, because this is your team call, teams just really, get serious, you know what I mean, and really take advantage of the amazing blessing you guys have to be working with a great guy like Kinao. Because I know he wants nothing but to help people. That's the biggest problem. Kinao wants to just help. And if there's nobody asking for his help, then, there's really nothing for Kinao to do other than go to Disneyland with me. That's not a bad problem, but what I will say is really, really use his time, but at the same time, don't just abuse it. Like, use it and treat it preciously. You know what I mean? Meaning, if you're making commitments to ask him to do parties for you or come down and do trainings for you, take full advantage of it, guys. Get as many people in those seats, get as many people in front of that presentation as possible. Because again, it may sound like a little bit of work, and you're like, Daniel, well, why are you making us do all this work? Keep in mind, at the end of the day, we're just trying to help you earn money and build a successful business. That's all we want for you. We're not asking you guys to do anything that just benefits us and not you guys. Ultimately, we're kind of asking you guys to build a great business for yourself so that your lives can be further blessed like the way our lives have been blessed. And then in turn, maybe a year from now, you guys will be the ones hosting the accountability calls, and you guys are the ones that are going out there and helping other people. And that's what we ultimately want to see. We want to create more ambassadors for Yoli, more ambassadors to go out there and share this great message of transforming lives physically, emotionally, and financially. That sounds like a really cheesy corporate little closer, but that's I really don't think it's any different than that. So thanks, Kinao.
Actually, I don't think it was cheesy at all. I think it was the wording, everything that you mentioned were strong, powerful words. All I got to say in response to that is wow, and thank you, and congratulations to you and Mel. I know you have another role that's coming up in your life that's really going to be. I won't even say it. I hope I don't want to say it yet because it's not public. Unless it is, then congratulations on the. For those of us who know, don't know what I'm talking about. But I've been getting like about probably 12 text messages within the last minute of how great this call was. It is recorded. I'm going to ask RJ if he can unmute the line so we can give our thanks and send our shout-outs to Mr. Daniel Song. But thank you so much, Daniel. I really appreciate it.
Daniel.
God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Kinao.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Daniel.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Kinao.